I've changed out of my normal trackies and pyjamas for this little rant, but today I'm going to be complaining and letting you know about my problems with the current diet industry. Now, this isn't just some girl, kid, whatever you want to call me. I'm sure I'll have some lovely comments below complaining saying you should never want to lose weight. All diets are bad. But I have fundamental problems with the way that diets are sold and told to the consumer. And if you've stuck around this long, you're probably interested in my views, or you're just incredibly bored. Either way, keep watching. The knee is up, it's gotten even more serious. In my opinion, all of those diet books you see on the shelf, or you might have in your garage, or you've locked away somewhere because you got too angry because you threw the soup at it because it didn't make you lose weight, are just completely overcomplicated for no reason, and to keep the person reading it out of the loop so you keep buying more books. And you don't really understand why the diet's working, but if I do 3 of those magic recipes and only eat that, man, I will be ripped. But in reality, it's dead simple. Calories in, calories out. And if you are even the littlest bit interested in fitness, you should know this. I'm not the first person to say it. I will most definitely not be the last person to say it. But keto, 5-2, intermittent fasting, slimming rod, all these do is create a calorie deficit. If you're eating 1,500 calories of carbs a day and then suddenly you cut out carbs, it's unlikely you're going to get that from fat. It's possible, but that's quite a lot of avocado, and I don't know anyone that likes avocado that much. I'm sure there are some people out there. There are people that will do anything online. But that is the reason that keto works. That is the reason intermittent fasting works. If you're only eating for 8 hours, it's less likely you'll be able to get in the amount of food that you might have in a midnight snack, or you have early breakfast. If you're only eating for that short space of time, you're going to eat less, and look, wow, shock, horror, calorie deficit, you lose weight. But they never tell you that, or all of these healthy recipe books that say pick 3 recipes from this. If they're all 400 calories or less, if you only eat 3 of the recipes, you're eating 1,200 calories, which one really isn't enough for a human body to function, in my opinion. 1,200 calorie diets make me cry. They're crash diets. You end up putting all the weight back on after, and you end up miserable. But if you learn to count calories, count macros, understand truly why these diets are working, you will see difference. You will not need to spend $9.99 on each book. You will see a difference. And I'm not saying that this is an easy equation. There's hormones play a function, thyroid, BMR, NEAT, all of these little things that make the complicated equation just that little bit worse to understand. But at the end of the day, if you're eating less, if you're moving more like a lot of the books suggest, Joe Wicks, he has the little workouts at the back, you're going to lose weight. And the books never really tell you that. They never tell you how many calories are in each recipe. So you just have to have a little, oh, if you only do the recipes from this book, you'll lose weight. You can't mix it with any other book though, because the magic fairy won't come and, scrape off that fat at the end of the day. That's not how it works. I do understand that there are many additional benefits that some of these diets have. For example, a lot of people claim that intermittent fasting helps their bloating. Keto makes them feel more mentally clear. But for this, I'm just focusing on the purpose of fat loss. These little side benefits, I'm not always sure if they're just in your mind, if it's a placebo, if it does actually help. But for this, I literally mean these fatty diets to shift pounds fast. My biggest problem with these diets is it creates an unhealthy obsession and demonization of certain foods. 14-year-old me read that carbs were the enemies. I saw Joe Wicks, I saw Tom Kerridge, they all eliminated carbs. And as a young, naive child, I thought, okay, then I need to cut out all the carbs and I will be this skinny, brilliant person that I see all over Instagram. And all that happens is you become obsessive, you become scared to eat certain foods, and at that age, it really screws you up. I won't lie to anyone out there, it is not worth it. I think one thing that many people overlook as well with these diets that completely restrict and cut out certain things like low carb and keto is how much it affects you mentally. The most prominent example of this is the Minnesota starvation experiment, and although this was an extreme version of this, it shows that cutting, reducing, lowering your calorie intake anywhere has a lot of psychological effects. You become obsessive over food, hoarding, slightly OCD about certain things. All you can think about is the food. And then when you suddenly cut out a group, that becomes the forbidden fruit. That becomes, in keto, it actually is the forbidden fruit. But that's the thing that you start obsessing over, you want, and you start binging. And that doesn't help you diet. If you're having a binge, say once a week on this forbidden food, that completely counteracts all of the work that you've put in the week. If you're slowly doing a sustainable cut, if you're still having the foods that you love, still having a bit of pasta here, still having a bit of bread there, I'm very anti-keto, as you can tell, just from experience. I think I'm massively biased against it. So apologies if that shows, because I think it's quite obvious. But restricting food is never the answer, in my opinion. Slowly reducing it, slightly having little bits less here and there. For example, for fat, you need a certain amount of fat, especially as a woman, to function properly. It is not worth a low-fat diet to look a certain way if you lose your period. It is not worth a low-fat diet if it makes you feel like utter crap. People think when they hit a certain weight, when they hit a certain level of skinniness, that suddenly everything becomes better. These kind of diets, it's so hard to then eat normally again after. If you completely reduced carbs for 6-7 months, suddenly when you bring them back, it's like, what do I do with this? How much is a portion? How much do I eat? But if you do things like portion control, slightly limiting things, that's how you notice a difference. That's how you shift your mind frame and start being more conscious of what you're eating. The first step could literally be, for a day, just read packets. There's no point having a low carb, a low calorie, a low anything diet if you can't function. What is the point in looking a certain way and being so miserable and unhappy? Is that really where you want to end up? People expect that when they look a certain way, when they look a certain skinniness, they'll be happy. But that never really comes. I'm not saying diets are bad, and all of these keto, intermittent fasting, you have to pick one that suits your lifestyle. If you wake up quite late, you do a lot in the morning, you can't really be after breakfast, maybe call it intermittent fasting and you eat less. In my opinion, any diet that cuts out fruit and vegetables probably isn't a very good diet. I've had quite disordered eating for a bit, I won't lie, and cutting out any food group makes life miserable. The best thing I've done, and I've seen other people do, is just reduce your total intake. Maybe snack a bit less. Maybe make some swaps of healthier snacks rather than that Ben and Jerry's. Have a little cornetto stick. There's about 300 calories saved there, and you're still having the things that you love. But all of the books that market and want you to keep purchasing them again and again don't tell you this. They tell you these magic formulas that if you eat a goji berry upside down with a pint of beer, you're going to lose 12 pounds overnight. When really all that happens is you throw up. And yes, you do lose 12 pounds from throwing up, but it's just not worth it. None of these diets that are marketed are ever worth it. And I feel like so many naive people buy into this industry. But please, if you're going to try a new diet, have a look at how they're marketing it. Yes, Barbara might have lost 8 pounds in 2 weeks. But how long did it take her to put it back on? These stupidly fast Slimming World, the ones where you only drink certain drinks 6 times a day, they're not a sustainable way of life. They don't help you, educate you. The second you finish with it, you're probably going to put it on, and a bit more. 80% of people put on the weight that they've lost. If that doesn't show that these diet fads and just all of these diets in general aren't sustainable and aren't really that effective, I don't know what does. So maybe go to IKEA, buy a smaller plate, download MyFitnessPal if you think that's going to help, and I think you'll have much more sustainable results than a lot of people out there. In all honesty, can you really blame the diet companies for us buying into it? It is worth £2 billion a year in the UK alone. Every year, 55% of adults try to lose weight, but the average diet lasts 19 days. Can you really blame the diet industries for trying to sell us these fast diets that we think are going to work when we spend so much money on it? If people just opened a book, put a little bit less on their plate, you'll lose weight. And to be honest, you'll be spending a lot less. These superfoods, they're really not that super. They're not going to supercharge your weight. All that will do is supercharge your overdraft if you're a student like me. And as you can see, I'm not the most muscly. I'm not the most healthy looking, probably. I'm trying to bulk, which is the opposite of this, which probably makes this quite a moot point. But this is from experience. This is from someone who has had the nasty end of the diet industry for far too long because of what I've read in the media, what friends have told me. I've heard people say that if you want to lose weight, 1,200 calories, that is where it's at. I currently eat 2,100 and maintain. 1,200 calories will just make me feel sick, it makes you feel tired, it makes you feel dizzy. It's not worth it. That's not how you lose weight. Eating superfoods is not how you lose weight. Eating slightly smaller portions of the food that you love in a maintainable way with people you love, still having meals out, still having treats here and there, that's how you lose weight. That is how you sustainably live a life that keeps you happy. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to be. I don't know if it's going to make sense after editing, but you know what? I had fun doing it. I needed to get that off my chest. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, leave any comments below. Stay awesome and see you next time. My hair is a mess. This is why we need to buy some new conditioner.